Hello, football fans, and welcome to episode 35 of View from the Sideline podcast. In this week's Premier League review, it looks as though the battle for the top four has reached its conclusion, and after Company's thunderbolt, the title is now Man City's to lose. In the EFL, Norwich are confirmed as champions, and Sol Campbell waves his magic wand to save Macclesfield from relegation. Pete retains his place in the starting lineup this week for another teaser, and we've reached the final round of the predictions challenge this season. In part 2, we'll be revealing the winners of the View from the Sideline podcast End of Season Awards, an award which everyone wants to win. No time to waste, so here we go.
Hello and welcome to episode 35 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Rich here as well. Hello, Rich.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
I've been better, mate. To be honest, I've been better. I've fallen out of love a little bit with football. Yeah, here I am doing a football podcast.
My neck's hurting a little bit after this weekend, Rich. Looking down on that league table,
down
trying
on
to find Tottenham. Yeah.
Since like the first week, first and only week. Yeah.
Been a while. So yeah. So we'll go into Pete's teaser this week, Rich. So what is it?
Pete's teaser this week is which three players have been sent off a record 8 times in the Premier League.
Right, 8 times?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So 3 players. But just on that, I don't know if you know this. This would have been also a good teaser.
Yeah.
Son has been sent off 5 times in his career.
5?
Yeah.
I saw the BBC did a column on him as well about how he grew up and stuff. When he was growing up, about his dad and stuff. It was quite a good read, actually.
But for someone as placid as he, so that was quite a surprise.
We'll go into that game in a minute. But we'll start off with the Everton-Burnley game. I think it was a typical game, really, for two teams that aren't really fighting for anything this season now. The game was pretty much over in the first 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, Everton are still fighting for the so-called Everton Cup, I guess. But yeah, I mean, no, sorry, scrap that. They're 4 points behind Wolves. Yeah, so so they're kind of in a battle for 8th, 9th, and 10th. So yeah, not an awful lot. Not an awful lot to play for, but they're in form. They're
doing well.
They're suddenly in a bit of form. They've won 3 of their last 5, which is a bit worrying for Spurs, having them next up last game of the season.
You're at home now, aren't you? So
we are, but I feel.
Doesn't really mean anything, though. These days.
I feel a bit of karma's going to come back and bite me because of my criticism of Everton. Throughout the season, they'll probably turn us over like 6-0, and Arsenal will win like 3 or 4-0, and then we'll finish 5th. But hopefully not. But I think the thing with Everton in this game is there is more momentum than there would have been if they'd sort of continued their poor run going into next season. I think the conversations have already started about whether they can actually challenge for the top 6 next year. But I think that's almost a conversation that football or anything around Premier League has every summer, that will Everton challenge, and they always promise a lot but deliver little. So we'll see.
If they, should we say from 3rd to 6th, they haven't been great this season, so it would have been, not unthinkable that maybe one of the other teams could have crept into the Champions League spots had they, performed a little bit better. But
they're 17 points off at the moment, so that's kind of the gap they've got to bridge, I guess. And it's 13 points to United in 6th. So I mean, even to the top 6, it's a bit of a gap. But it'd be interesting to see what happens to Everton in the summer, whether they splash the cash. And Burnley have been safe for a while now, bit mixed form. So Friday night game, I think, like you say, it's almost one of those that
no Europa League for Burnley next season, so they can concentrate solely on the league. Speaking of Europa League, Tottenham up next. No, I'm just kidding. So it was a very, very late goal, and to be fair, you defended pretty well with only 9 men on the pitch. Son sending off, I think it was a bit soft, really. I know he's pushed him, but it's not. For me, I didn't think it was a sending off personally, but I thought this guy's name is it Foyth?
Foyt. Yeah.
That was a red card, and I think he'd only just come on as well. So, but Nathan Ake, the hero, ex-Chelsea player, coming up with the winner as well.
Anyone who's ex-Chelsea, I mean, you'll be shouting about Anelka scoring in a five-a-side next week. I don't. Strange game for me. The Son one, I think that's probably the one that causes a bit more controversy. The Foyt one was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I think Spurs were lucky that Dyer didn't get sent off. I think they were lucky that Dyer didn't give away a penalty. I think that should have been a penalty for his foul. Now, the sending off, I mean, there's different ways to interpret it, and I think that's probably why there's a bit of a mixed opinion. I have heard, admittedly, they're in the minority, but I have heard a few people say that it should have been a yellow, and even also that Lima should have been red carded for stamping on or treading on his hands, but because it's a contact below the head or below the neck, apparently it's not classed as like a hit in the face. It's more of a shove, therefore it's not violent conduct, therefore it should have been a yellow. But I can see why he sent him off. I mean, I'm not one of the ones that will argue it. I think it was a red card.
Well,
I think it was.
It's the reaction, isn't it? I think.
No, yeah, he shouldn't have reacted like that. The only thing that I find slightly disappointing, and it's one thing that really, really bugs me about today's game, is just the theatrics. I mean, Lema went down as if he'd been shot by a sniper in sort on top of the stand. And I mean, to be fair, I think any sort of average male wouldn't have even hit the ground from a push like that from Son. I mean, it wasn't as if he sort of took a run up and then shoved him. It's so disappointing.
He was lucky to stay on that pitch, Lerma. I know, probably not for that, but it was probably worth a yellow card for him as well. But he did end up getting booked as well later on in the game. So
yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna argue with either. Really, I think the most disappointing thing in that game really is, I know. Well, one is the late goal, because with the other results over the weekend, a point we'd be 100% guaranteed top four now, and I know Arsenal need sort of an 8-goal swing, so even a point at home. To be honest, even a 1 or 2-0 defeat against Everton's fine for us, but I would have rather gone into the game against Ajax, the second leg tomorrow, knowing 100% that it was done. I know everybody thinks it's as good as done, but I'm not. Until it's mathematically, there is that. But I don't know what it is with Spurs. They're further away than I thought they would be. I thought they. Seriously, a couple of months ago, I thought they had a serious chance of mounting a title challenge, but it's going to be a big summer.
If someone would have told me 2 months ago that Chelsea would be in third place, I probably would have laughed. But we've been exceptionally lucky with just the way the other teams have been playing. So
yeah, but I think that's the same for Spurs. If Arsenal and United hadn't been as poor as they've been, then it would have been a different story. But there's a lot of rumours about people like Trippier, Eriksen, Alderweireld leaving in the summer. So it'll be a big summer for Spurs. Yeah. Apparently they're gonna give Pochettino a war chest to go out and buy players. But for me,
sounds nice.
just finally on it, I think for Spurs, it's the excuses are over now. The whole we're playing at Wembley, that excuse has gone.
Yeah.
The whole we're not. Do you know what I mean? we haven't got the squad depth. I mean, that's the one thing that is showing for Spurs at the moment. It's the 2 or 3 key players that you miss. So it'd be interesting to see what they do in the summer. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So could be worse.
Yeah. So the West Ham Southampton game, Southampton turning back the clock on this one, on how they played before Christmas.
Yeah.
They were poor. It was absolutely poor. Absolutely terrible. But West Ham, they've had such a good season, considering the start of the season that they had. They've had such a good season, I'd say, a very good season. So, first 6-7 games of the season, they hadn't even got a point. So, to be where they are now, they've
but
got a really good side as well.
They have their recent form is, to me, is what West Ham are all about. So they lose a couple, then they win a couple. I know there's only one game left, but if there was more games, they'd probably then lose a couple, then they'd win a couple more. And they are smack bang in the table. But the telling thing for me, if you look Bournemouth, and Bournemouth have had a terrible second half of the season, but West Ham are only 4 points ahead of them.
Yeah.
And they're also only 3 points ahead of Palace. So you sort of you would, no disrespect to those clubs, but you would expect to see West Ham in a higher position. And I think we sort of said it last week about the big sides, but it's going to be a big summer for a lot of teams. West Ham will want to try and keep hold of their best players. And it's whether they do or not, which then sort of allows them to have a proper crack next year to see if they can push for top 6.
Yeah. So the Wolves Fulham game, considering how Fulham have played recently, I don't think that they'll be too disappointed with this result. Obviously, losing by the odd goal, because they have more of the ball. Possession wise, they dominate the possession, but it's getting the ball in the net that counts. But yeah, to be fair, I think Fulham will probably be do all right in the Championship. I think I heard an interview with I think it was someone on 5 Live on Friday night, and they said about players that Fulham could potentially keep, and they probably will lose Mitrovic, possibly Sessegnon, but I don't think Sessegnon, he's not. They're not going to get the money for him they probably want, and it's a strange one because I don't really know where his best position is, and I think that's what will kind of put teams off of him a little bit.
Yeah, but apparently he wants the Spurs move from what I've read. But
there's players in front of him that Tottenham would be able to get. So I don't.
Yeah, there is, but there's the Pochettino, there's the development bit. To be honest with you, I'm not. If he went to Spurs, I'd be surprised if he was expecting to get
game time.
He'd get game time, but I'm not sure if he went there, he'd have to be aware that I think that he's not going to be first choice. Whether you play him as sort of a left back or left of a back 3 or left of a back 4, how you play it, or as a wing back, I really like Danny Rose, so he would always be ahead for me. But you've got him think of his age, his potential. Yeah. I think probably Spurs is probably a good fit for him.
You could probably mould. You could put at the age he is. You can probably mould him into anywhere down the left side, whether you wanted him as a winger or at left back. But
yeah, you could do. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, well, not the interesting thing, but obviously Spurs were in for him quite heavily last summer when Fulham were coming up. But if you're going to get him when he's going back down, he's going to be a lot cheaper.
That's what I mean.
Which will be a good thing.
If you're going to get him, go for him now. But I think Spurs will probably still. I think you'll still go after Grealish. I think he'll be one of your.
That's the opposite way, though, isn't it? I think if Villa do come up, I think Grealish will probably give them a year.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think he will. It's his hometown team, innit? I think he's got a lot of sort of affinity with Villa. He's done a lot for them. they've sort of supported him for a lot of things as well. I think if they did get to the Premier League, I do think that he would give them a year.
Yeah,
but we'll wait and see.
Cool. So Cardiff Palace. So the dream is all over for Cardiff, and it probably has been for since last week. But it'd be sad to see them go. They showed a lot of heart this season. They've probably done a lot better than what people, would probably say they had done, because they didn't really spend the money that the likes of Fulham and Wolves did. So yeah, it'll be a shame to see him go. But they've got they've pretty much got the same team that they came up with. So as long as they can keep most of them, I'm sure that they should be all right.
Yeah, that's the trouble though, isn't it? I think that it's not only the players keeping hold of them, but do they want to stay? I think the thing is now, admittedly, it is the squad that's taken them up to the Premier League.
But is there many players that you think could?
Yeah, but
they're
going to want to play Premier League football.
Yeah.
Now they've got a
yeah,
taste
definitely.
for it. I think there's some that would probably the promoted teams would probably have a look at.
I think one of is it Morrison, the defender?
Yeah, he's had a good season. I think the keeper's Etheridge. He's been one of the best goalies in the league this season. I mean, Junior Hoylett's got a bit of experience. You don't know it depends who goes up through the playoffs as well. So we'd have to wait and see. But
yeah, and
I think I do agree with you. I think they're probably the ones over Huddersfield, Fulham, and Cardiff. Cardiff are probably the ones that we thought would struggle the most. So
yeah, and just to say one thing on Palace as well. I remember at Christmas we were saying how much they needed a striker. And they bought in Batshuayi, and they've been scoring quite a lot of goals since January, and Zaha, Batshuayi, and Townsend seem to make a good front three, and they all scored as well at the weekend.
Yeah, but what happens next season?
Well, whether they can, because
Batshuayi won't. I'm pretty sure he won't stay.
We've got to give Batshuayi a chance at Chelsea.
You might not have a choice.
Well, yeah, and the whole debate on Zaha rings on whether.
Apparently, what the club are saying is that the intention would be, obviously the intention would be to keep both of them, but if they do sell, it will be one of Zaha or the fullback, Wan-Bissaka, is it?
Yeah, because I see he's been linked with a few clubs.
Yeah, so I think it'll be one or the other. But I'd be surprised if Zaha's still there, to be honest. He's the one I think that will go. But I think
it'll be abroad. I think he'll go abroad.
Yeah, and I think he'll drive the change. I think he will be the one that wants to go.
He's in a good position. I think I think he's done what was needed to be done this season for Palace. He has scored goals, which is one thing that they lacked before Christmas. It seemed effort was going through him. So fair play to him if he does get a big move. But I just think it'll be outside the Premier League.
I do agree.
Okay, so title chase in Liverpool. Apparently the team that should be given a trophy even if they finish second in the league, which is. I don't know if you heard.
You do get a runners-up medal, don't you?
Not a trophy, mate. This guy on Talks, I don't know if anyone else heard it, but he phoned in to a radio show, Talk Sport, to say that he felt that Liverpool, because Liverpool had got this amount of points, that they deserved to be given a trophy or to share the trophy with Manchester City. But I don't think they could figure out whether he was an Evertonian or whether he was actually generally a Liverpool fan. But yeah, to obviously mention Liverpool, they are playing this evening, obviously in their Champions League semi-final, 3-0 down first leg, but they are actually winning 1-0 in the second leg. Origi scored early goal, and obviously they haven't got Firmino or Salah, I believe.
Be a good second half. They'll have to They'll have to go after it. I mean, this is a funny game to talk about, but just to touch on it just quickly, because obviously with what happened in the City game, it sort of seems a bit of an anticlimax. I think that the talking point seems to be the third goal. So the free kick awarded for Origi, the third Liverpool goal. I think when you get all the different angles and that, you can see that it's probably not a free kick.
No.
But it seems to be the sort of main talking point. And there's a lot of talk about Benitez beforehand and whether he was going to do Liverpool a favour. And I think a lot of that's just
not.
sort of... No, but I just think a lot of it.
Well, I thought.
I thought they did, and I thought
for a good 30 minutes, I thought that they were actually going to hold on to it and deny Liverpool.
Yeah, no, I did, and I thought it was a possible upset before the game. I think that Newcastle will. I think they'll do all right next year, especially if Benitez stays. The interesting thing with Newcastle is Rondon, because he's meant to go back to West Brom, isn't he? And I think I read that there's a clause in his contract that says if West Brom come up, then it's just I think it's 20.5 million they've got to pay. But if West Brom don't come up, it's 16.5. But something that may sort of get overlooked now is obviously the striker leading West Brom's charge, Dwight Gale, is a Newcastle player.
Yeah.
Obviously he's still on loan. So that's interesting. But I don't just quickly, Chris, because I did think about this today, and I don't want to be sort of tarred with the same brush as this Talk Sport guy. But if Liverpool go out tonight, and they don't win the league, is that any different to Spurs and to Pochettino? Because Pochettino didn't win a trophy, Klopp didn't win a trophy. All those conversations are going to come out, but is it the fact that Liverpool just pushed City so far and had an unbelievable season? Does Klopp almost get a free pass for that trophy conversation?
Because at the end of the day, they've got that they qualify for the Champions League, which Tottenham are likely to do through league position anyway, and they got to the same part of the Champions League than what Tottenham have as well. So I don't see any difference.
Well, but let's just say Spurs got past Ajax tomorrow. I mean,
well, I would say Spurs have probably had a more successful season than Liverpool.
But Liverpool are more than likely going to end up with, I think it's the third highest ever points tally in the Premier League, yet they're not going to win the league. So I think it's a really good discussion about whether they're coming second, but they're coming second with such an unbelievable season. But it's still second. They still haven't won the league, even though they've given us their best ever season in the Premier League. But yet they still haven't won the league.
Yeah.
But is that because City is so good?
Well, I think they are. I
don't know.
That's the problem. But
maybe that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. But you'd be gutted as a Liverpool fan to come out of this season with nothing.
You would be. You'd be. I was trying to think last night what it would be like being a Liverpool fan watching that game last night, and you're getting to the last sort of quarter of the game, and it's still 0-0. You do not expect Company to do what he did. Anyway, I think the title's probably with City now, to be honest. So we'll have to see till Sunday.
Chelsea Watford. So really, this whole of the weekend has just played right into Chelsea's hands. Really,
it has. But what? I'm just going to ask you, Chris.
Yeah, go on.
What is going on with that kit?
Do you not like it?
No.
It's a bit odd. It feels like...
I heard the best reference today that it looks like the seat covers on a train.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. The neckline is a bit odd for me. It just doesn't. It looks like it's missing like a collar or like a different color around the neck. I don't know.
It's meant to depict images from Stamford Bridge or something like that. Anyway, let's talk about the football.
It's a strange choice, but and it's strange that they've worn it already, which is odd. But anyway,
no, teams do. Last home game of the season, Bournemouth wore their new home kit. Not that you'd notice there was any difference to it. but they still did.
First half of this game was all pretty much Watford, but they just couldn't capitalise on a few good chances that they had. But second half was probably one of the best second halves I've seen Chelsea play this season, I'd say.
So you love Sarri again now, do you?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
Sarri ball
I think
ball
we
works.
scored 2 goals from corners within 5 minutes of the restart, and then Higuain showing what he should be doing.
Credit where it's
game
due.
out,
That was a classy finish.
Yeah.
Credit where it's due.
It's just a shame he can't be doing that every week. But I understand he's but it very much looks like he's going to be staying now as well from all the talk I've seen this week. So
well, I'm reading that Hazard is putting in a transfer request and all sorts. I think he'll go.
Hazard.
Yeah, personally, I think
it's
a done deal. I think the thing with Chelsea is, and again, credit where it's due, Chris. I know we have a bit of banter and stuff, but I think Chelsea deserve to be where they are, and I think they deserve Champions League football next year. Because they have outperformed United, Arsenal, and to a certain extent Spurs, but they. It's just what happens. It's just if this transfer ban sticks, and if Hazard does go, and I think there's a really good case for Sarri to stay. Although I may have said something different before, but I think if he does go, I'm not sure where that club goes.
I think he needs to win the Europa League. I think winning that is probably going to be his.
Do you think though? Because I think top 4 was their priority. I don't think that winning the Champions League is going to do much now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's just a personal view, but I think that the pressure of having to win that game is completely removed now.
Yeah. I think, like I said earlier, like if someone was to tell me we could potentially finish third this season, I would have bitten their hand off for that. So, we and it's hard to believe that for the first 18 games of this season we were right up with Man City and Liverpool, and it just goes to show, what 2 different paths, Manchester City and Liverpool have taken to what Chelsea have taken. So,
well, speaking of Manchester clubs that have taken a different path, brings us nicely onto United. We could spend all night talking about this, but he seems to have lost I don't know whether he's lost the dressing room or what it is, but
I don't know what it is.
The way they're playing at the moment just reminds me of how they were before Mourinho left.
It's like they've forgotten that middle section of when Solskjaer took over to when he was given that contract. It's like that contract has almost become like a curse, and
But they're gonna have to have. I think that they're in for sort of 3 or 4 years transition.
This is the problem.
It's going to be interesting to see. They're going to have to pretty much rip the heart out of that team when you think about Pogba, possibly De Gea.
They're going to struggle to sign world-class players with the position that they're in at the moment. And for anyone to say that about Manchester United, it just doesn't feel right. It's just so straight. Like they have had probably one of the worst, probably the worst season I think they've ever had in the Premier League by far.
But I almost feel they've been on a decline since Ferguson left. I know it's a huge upheaval in the club, and sort of the history of them almost is being replaced with Ferguson leaving, but they're just not good enough. If you think of, you can use the centre backs as an example. If you think of like Bruce Pallister, Vidic, Ferdinand, Yapstam, and now you're talking Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, Lindelof. They're nowhere near where they should be. Unfortunately, I think the days have almost gone where Man United attract the best players in the world. I think there's probably 3, 4, maybe even
Fred.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 teams around Europe that players probably look at now and think, I'd probably rather go there. And even to the extent, I know it sounds really stupid, but there's a lot of talk about how sort of old and dilapidated Old Trafford is getting. 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was one of the best club stadiums in the world, and now it's not only the team that are falling apart; it's the stadium, and it's a huge summer for United. Huge.
Well, Chris Sutton on the radio, he listed 11 players that he thinks that Man United will probably get rid of or will lose through transfers this season, and it was pretty much 8 players that started on Sunday. So it's for them.
It is difficult, but Pogba for me, I'm a fan of Pogba, and I'm really torn around whether you stick with him and build the team around him, or you get rid of him and you start again, because on his day, he is one of the best players in the world, but he just doesn't seem interested. And if you can get good money for him,
I think it's more the team around him.
But you've got to be able to replace him. You've got to be able to replace him. If you're taking Pogba out that side, who realistically are United going to get in that is as good as or better than Pogba? They're not. They're not going to get anyone like that at the moment. And that's where the rebuilding comes in for me. So it'll be interesting.
Okay, well, Arsenal, Brighton.
Oh my days.
Sunday was a very good day.
We'll whip through this. Arsenal's wasn't a penalty. I think it was he bought that. The Brighton one was a penalty.
Yeah.
Love Glenn Murray that he put that penalty away and dashed Arsenal's hopes. The picture of the Aubameyang and a couple of, I think it was Saka
on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, as a Spurs fan, I'm not going to say that I didn't slightly enjoy that. But Arsenal is the defence again, always letting them down. They look like they're going to score 4 or 5 a game, but they just don't take their chances. But you would always fancy your chances of getting a goal against Arsenal. That's all I've got to say.
And then last night's game was the Man City Leicester game, and obviously a little bit of pressure on Man City to have to win the game. And for the first sort of 50, 60 minutes of the game, it did look like that Leicester were going to put up more of a fight than what City thought they were. But then, wow.
What
Vincent
a goal!
Company.
What a goal!
Yeah.
I think their name's on it. I think, but is that's 13. I think that's 13 on the bounce now.
Yeah, 13 wins in a row.
That City have won. It's scary. It's scary how good they are. And
can we just say, at the end of did you see Leicester's chance at the end with Iniacho when the ball was played through to him? And he was literally one-on-one with the keeper, and he put it so far wide, right? And then in my mind, I'm thinking, I swear he used to play for Man City. This guy, he did, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
I think he just got lost in his mind for a second, then, and he just.
Well, he won't be the first, and he won't be the last. But for me, this is what City are about. I think it's their last 4 or 5 games. They've won 1 or 2.
They celebrated last night like they had won it.
Yeah, and I think they probably will. I can't see Brighton stopping them.
No.
And I think Liverpool have absolutely have got the harder game playing
Wolves
at home.
as well, haven't they?
Yeah, and whether you believe it or not, I think there's going to be an element for Liverpool that they feel a bit deflated, especially if they do go out the Champions League tonight. And I think they probably know that the odds are against them now to win it. But
he's taken Robertson off. Looks like tonight. So they've just started the second half, and he's taken Robertson off and brought Wijnaldum on. So he's going for it. So anyway, we've only got one round of the Premier League left as well.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Well, and what is over now, pretty much, is the
Championship
league tables
EFLs
for the Championship and the EFLs, and Rich has got the Championship news.
Yep, so last round of games at the weekend, so Norwich were crowned champions of the Championship. So they won 2-1 away at Villa. Sheffield United, they finished second. They drew 2-2 away at Stoke. But we already knew that those two were up automatically. It was just who was going to take the title. Also in the playoffs, so Leeds in third, West Brom in fourth, and Villa in fifth. None of those positions changed. The only outstanding place really was Derby, and that was the last playoff place in sixth. So they beat West Brom 3-1, meaning Middlesbrough missed out by just 1 point. And it's strange when you think of it, and you think there's sort of that 1 point that may have been a late goal or a mistake or something like that, and you don't think that 1 point's going to cost you. But when you get to the end of the season and you miss the playoffs by a point, must be a bit gutting. But I'm really excited about these playoffs. So West Brom v Villa and Leeds v Derby, I think they're two cracking ties. I'm going to go for John Terry Frank Lampard final, I think.
It'd be good to see.
I think over the two legs, Villa will do it. And I think Derby will beat Leeds over the two legs. And at the bottom, relegation was already confirmed for Ipswich, Bolton and Rotherham. Rotherham were confirmed relegation last week. On a slightly more positive note, Bolton did manage to fulfil their fixture at the weekend. They did lose 1-0 away to Forest. I don't know if you've heard, Chris, but their postponed fixture against Brentford won't be rearranged.
So Brentford got the points, didn't they?
Yeah, but they've only been awarded a 1-0 win. But
I
yeah, so that's it
now.
now.
But,
yeah, I thought it did. Yeah, so that's it now. So all the games have been played.
Imagine if Brentford were literally like just off the playoffs and that win and that.
Well, that would be a story, wouldn't it? Crikey, yeah. So in League One, Luton were crowned champions. They beat Oxford 3-1 at home at the weekend. Barnsley finished in second despite losing 2-1 to Bristol Rovers. Charlton were the big movers, really. So they leapfrogged Portsmouth and Sunderland into third. They beat Rochdale 4-0. Portsmouth drew 1-1 at home to Accrington, and Sunderland lost 2-1 away at Southend. And Doncaster. Yeah, they will do. Yeah. So Doncaster held on to the final playoff spot, beating Coventry 2-0. So you've got Charlton and Doncaster, and Sunderland, Portsmouth. So a repeat of the Checker Trade Trophy. So that's
Portsmouth and Sunderland. They would have wanted to go automatic.
Well, Portsmouth were top of that league for a long time. Yeah. But all the action at the weekend was at the bottom. So Scunthorpe, Walsall and Plymouth all joined Bradford in relegation. This is tight. Plymouth. So Plymouth were the only side that won in the bottom four on the final day, but it wasn't enough to keep them up. They went down on goal difference, so they finished on 50 points along with Wimbledon and Southend, but Plymouth had a goal difference of -24, Wimbledon -21 and Southend -13. So they went down by 3 goals over the course. Right. But over the course of a 46-game season, it does just show that literally every goal counts. Relegations and promotions and playoff places also confirmed for League One.
Right, so League Two. So there was still quite a bit to play for in League Two, but not for top team Lincoln. They had already won promotion, but they lost 3-0 at home to Colchester. So Lincoln actually
they'd already won the title, though, hadn't they?
Yeah, no winning 5 for Lincoln. So
that was a well planned season. They obviously peaked at the right time.
Bury already in second. They drew 1-1 with Port Vale. But what I didn't realise is that the third automatic promotion was going to be between MK Dons and Mansfield, and they played each other. I didn't even on the last day of the season, played each other. MK Dons came out 1-0 winners, so that means MK Dons are up, and Mansfield slipped to 4th, so they will have to go through on the playoffs. Both Forest Green and Tranmere had already secured playoff spots. Forest Green drew 0-0 with Exeter, and Tranmere lost 3-1 to Crawley. But yeah, the last playoff place went to Newport. They scored in the 87th minute to draw 1-1. So that goal, secured it for, and they've in the playoffs with still a negative goal difference.
That's so crazy.
Good job I didn't come down to goal difference on that one. And believe it or not, Yeovil went to Newport earlier on in the season and won 6-1. So yeah,
that's a bit embarrassing getting beaten by a non-league club, isn't it?
So it will be Mansfield against Newport and Forest Green against Tranmere in the playoffs. But it is all over for Notts County. They were relegated.
Sorry, goal Liverpool 2-0.
Hey?
Yeah, Liverpool have just scored.
Don't do this to me now. Oh, it's one out.
Crikey.
It's one out.
The comeback of all comebacks is possibly
you'll
on.
Never hear the end of that if they end up going through.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, Notts County are confirmed relegated. They lost 3-1 to Swindon. So credit to Sol Campbell. He's kept Macclesfield up. They were in terrible position when he took over. 7 points off relegation they were when he took over, so he's turned that completely round. They drew with Cambridge at the weekend, and Yeovil, they also got a 0-0 draw at the weekend, but obviously they're already
too
down.
little, too late.
And unfortunately, if you believe what you hear, it looks like the takeover is potentially off. Which
I don't know if I can take this, Chris. It's been a bad enough weekend as it is.
Which is going to put the boot in a bit more. There are reports on social media today that the new potential buyers are considering pulling out because they got relegated.
I think we should buy it, Chris.
But they are.
Let's do one of those crowdfunding pages. Let's whip up some support from the listeners. Let's try and buy Yeovil.
I
What's the target?
There's a backup though. There's a consortium that are also interested apparently. So I think there's no doubt that it will be taken over. But from American tycoon to local consortium.
Is it Screwfix?
It's not Screwfix, but you kind of want the American man with all the money. So yeah, he'll probably go and buy another League Two side now, which will be even more of a kick in the teeth. I think Liverpool have scored.
Oh my God, 3-0.
It's Wijnaldum again.
Oh my days!
Come on, he's been on the pitch for 10 minutes and he's scored twice.
This is
unbelievable.
This could be a night to remember.
For part one of the podcast, we'll be back in part two with some prediction news, our awards, and the answer to the teaser. So we'll be back in part two.
Hello and welcome back to part two of View from the Sideline podcast. So as we do each week, we're going to kick off part two with a quick update on predictions because there's only one round left. So last weekend, Kurt got his second go. Actually scored lower the second time than the first, so not much threat to the top. So he ended up with 15 points. I think the interesting bit, Chris, is the battle with you and I.
Still tied, I think.
I cannot believe after 39 rounds of predictions, we are still dead on score. To the point. We've got exactly the same number of points. I have gone quite heavy on draws this week. So we'll see. Our scores are pretty different. So Only one more person stands in Jamie's way, and that is Scott. So he's up this weekend. So the scores are online, so you can just go onto Facebook or Twitter or Instagram to see this weekend's games. But it's close, Chris.
Very close.
It's very close. We're
going to have to think, if he gets 30 points, we're going to have to think of something quick. We'll have to do an
arm wrestle or something. Rock, paper, scissors. But we're gonna bring it back next year, I think, maybe with a few tweaks. But it's been a good feature for us. We've had 38 guests on.
Plus the two that are having another go. So
yeah.
And to be fair, we probably could have had more than that, because I have had people, asked to do it. So there is plenty of room, especially next season. We'll try and maybe do it a bit more. But yeah, so that's that.
So the moment everybody's been waiting for, Chris, all journalists.
The red carpet was rolled out.
Yeah, the world sports media.
Players have been turned out. Apart from the Liverpool players, they haven't turned out for the
the only reason Messi isn't with us tonight is because he's playing in the Champions League.
Well, they're 3-0 down, mate. So he's not playing that well.
So that's because he wants to be here. His mind is distracted. So. View from the sideline, end of season awards. How exciting! You can tell by the tone of my voice. I'm sorry, I'm just following the Liverpool game. I apologise. So we've got
shocked.
We've got six categories. One of which was voted for by the listeners, which was the Player of the Year. So first of all, thanks to everyone who voted. I think we got just under 300.
About 285, I think it was.
Yeah. So just under 300 votes. So we had Aguero, Hazard, Van Dijk, and Sterling. And you may have seen on our social media, so Raheem Sterling won that award. So he's the first ever View from the Sideline Player of the Year. What an honour. What an honour.
I'll accept it on Sterling's behalf. He can't be with us tonight.
Yeah. He also didn't send a video message either.
No. He declined to comment.
Yeah. So. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should send something to Man City just to let him know.
Yeah.
So we've also got Manager of the Year, Signing of the Year, Game of the Season, the most underachieving team, and the most overachieving team. We need a drum roll or something, Chris. So just to give you a bit of context, so these awards have been chosen by Chris and I. So it's only the Player of the Season that actually went out to a vote. So we've decided on the other one. So Chris, do you want to kick it off with Manager of the Year?
So Manager of the Year goes to Javi Garcia of Watford. I think we both agreed on Javi Garcia, just because the way, they've done very well in the league this season, and to get to a cup final as well. And I think next season, they'll probably do a little bit better.
So, he was up against Klopp, Guardiola, and Warnock, and I think that the nominations were all in there for different reasons. I think Klopp and Guardiola for obvious reasons. Warnock for the fact that I think that he gave Cardiff a chance of staying up when probably no one sort of gave him a realistic chance of doing that. And Javi Gracia, you've got to look at it. I think the way we looked at it from their league position, from the improvement that Watford have made this season from last season, the fact that they've got to an FA Cup final, to me, they're almost the surprise package, if you agree, Chris, this season, and he's played a huge part in it.
Yep.
Okay, so well done. Congratulations for our first ever manager of the season. So next one is signing of the season.
Signing of the season,
So nominations are James Maddison at Leicester, Felipe Anderson at West Ham, Alisson at Liverpool, and Lucas Torreira at Arsenal. How did he slip in? So, Chris, would you like to reveal the winner?
So the signing of the season we gave to Alisson. I think we both. I didn't think we even really needed to discuss this too much. Alisson, for me, is part of the reason why Liverpool are where they are at the moment. He's had a great first season there.
Just to build on that, I think he is probably one of the main, along with Van Dijk, but I mean he's been there a bit longer. But he's almost the last piece of the jigsaw for Liverpool that puts them in the position where they are at the moment, where I think they probably will be consistently challenging for top spot in the Premier League, and it's almost been a position that Liverpool have always struggled in, whether it was Karius or whether it was Mignolet, that they'll have a couple of good games and then they'll make the customary error that they seem to make, and then it would be back to square one. And I know Alisson's got a couple of mistakes in him, but I think he's probably the most solid keeper Liverpool have had for a long time. And like I said, I think he probably is the player that puts them up there and makes them a real force now, I think, in the Premier League. So
definitely,
I think a few would argue with that choice, I think. Game of the season. So the nominations for this season were Wolves 4, Leicester City 3, which was on the first weekend of the season. Man City 2, Crystal Palace 3, which was the Andros Townsend goal. I think that's probably one of the main reasons how that game would be remembered. Bournemouth 3, Watford 3. You can probably put that in half of the season as well, because that was 3-0 at half time. And then Everton 2, Spurs 6, which was probably one of my favourites. So, Chris, the winner of this one is?
So the winner was the Everton-Tottenham game.
You may guess why. So I'll probably take this one. So I picked it. So I think that this is probably the most... Oh, God, how do I describe it? It's almost like the perfect game of football from Spurs that I've ever seen them play. And I specifically remember phoning you, Chris, on this game because I think Spurs went...
Is this when you tricked me?
I did, because you weren't watching, you weren't paying attention, and I think, if I remember rightly, I think Spurs went 1. They may have even gone 2-0 down, and then within sort of 10-15 minutes, I think they were 4-2 up, and I think it was just an absolute masterclass of how to play football. They ran Everton ragged, and for me, even though there's 8 goals in this game, so it's obviously an exciting game. There's lots of action, etc. For me, it was the fact, it was the way the football was played, as to why I've picked this as game of the season. It's almost like, I don't know, watching Barca. I'm not comparing Spurs to Barcelona, but it was almost as if watching the whole tiki-taka, Xavi, Iniesta football. Spurs were just unplayable that day. So not just for entertainment, but for pure footballing brilliance. Everton 2, Spurs 6 has won our game of the season.
There you go.
Chris can't even bring himself to talk about that game. He's just so in awe. So in awe of that game.
Now, you actually phoning me, I think, after game. I can't remember what you said, but yeah, I fell into a trap, I think, on that one. Yeah.
So the next nomination is. Do you want to do overachievers or underachievers?
Do underachievers first, because it's more funny, really.
So the team who have underachieved most this season, the nominations are Arsenal, Everton, West Ham, and Manchester United. I think Chris had a bit of pleasure in announcing the.
Is it a winner though? Do you win if you've
Well,
technically you've won?
They have won. They are the. I don't know. They have won our vote for the team that have underachieved the most.
The winners were
They're winners in our eyes.
Yeah, so Man United have won something this season. There you go. But they've just been poor. Also, to be fair, Everton and West Ham haven't been great, but from the stature of the club that Manchester United are, they have been poor all season. They've changed managers as well. It worked to start off with, but certainly not working at the moment. But like we said earlier in the podcast, it's going to be a big summer for them. They are going to have to let players go, but what players they bring in, it's going to be interesting to find out. And to be fair, Arsenal aren't far behind Man United either, so it could have been either one of the two.
Yeah, but I think so. I think the thing that vindicates that decision a little bit as well, also, is the improved form of Everton and West Ham since we sort of decided on the winner of this of this award. But also try and go back to sort of last August. Mourinho was still at United. There was a lot of expectation there. I think that they would challenge City this season. They were in the Champions League. I can't remember. Sanchez was there, wasn't he? Would he have been? Yeah. Yes. I mean, we probably expected a lot from him. And if you think where United have ended up, and even the fact that I doubt anybody at the beginning in sort of last August thought that Solskjaer would be the manager come the end of the season. And I think even with Arsenal, you expected a bit of transition with Wenger leaving and Emery coming in. So that one is a no-brainer.
Yeah. So on to the overachievers.
Yep. So the nicer version of the two. So the nominations here are Wolves, Cardiff, Palace, and Leicester. And I think you could probably make a case for all of these.
Yeah, but the team that we went for were Wolves. League position, they are above the other nominations that we picked, but I think the football that they've played has been a lot better. It's been quite free flowing football. They've not been scared to go forward. The players that they've brought in, they've all played pretty well. Jimenez and Jota, very, very good players. Obviously Jimenez is now officially a Wolves player as well, so they've done well to sign him. And see what happens in the summer. See if they've got the money there available to spend the same, and they still can qualify for Europe.
They can, yeah. I think that if you look at the other nominations, I think Leicester. I mean, they've had it hasn't been a great season with obviously what happened with the owner and things like that. I think on the pitch they've been pretty inconsistent. I think that give Rodgers a full season, then I think we may see something from Leicester next year. Personally, I think they're going to be a threat. Palace are always there or thereabouts with where they are at the moment, to be honest. So I think they're kind of doing what was expected. I think if Cardiff were maybe 3 or 4 points better off when we made our decision, I probably would have put Cardiff in to win this. But Wolves are deserved winners. First season in the Premier League, to finish where they're going to finish. I know they've splashed the cash, but still, it's an achievement. So there it is.
That's the award ceremony done. The after party. Who's coming to the after party?
We should. We'll post them online. I think we'll post we'll post the results online. So
yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
We'll be back same time next year for the
second annual.
for the
View from the
second. Yeah,
Sideline.
who's going to take the awards? Maybe we'll have different categories.
Chelsea are going to scoop at it. They're going to win the league. Anyway,
teaser.
So teaser, right? Players. So I'm thinking.
Let's throw some names.
Roy Keane. He's dirty.
Catamol.
Catamol definitely probably up there. Joey Barton.
Do you know who I'm thinking? Yeah, Craig Bellamy.
Craig Bellamy.
But we need to go back in time a bit. What about Vieira?
Yeah.
Gareth Barry. He's played a shed
load
of games.
He's played loads. Vinny Jones.
He's got to be up there.
Vinny
Jones weren't in it for long enough, I don't think.
Patrick Vieira's a good shout.
Right, I'm gonna pluck 3 names. So I'm gonna go Vieira.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Catamol.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go.
Terry didn't have that many, did he?
Vieira, Catamol, and Keane. I'm gonna go three centre mids.
Right, let me post red cards.
Are you happy with those 3, Chris? You've got to contribute.
I did. I said Vieira, Joey Barton.
But do you want to put Barton in for anyone else? So who have we gone for? Keane, Catamol, and Vieira.
I'd say Catamol.
Barton might be a better shout than Catamol.
Say Keane, Barton. Yeah, Keane, Barton, and who's the other one you said?
Vieira.
Okay.
Okay, right. We'll go.
All right, I'm here. Okay. All seasons.
What about Robbie Savage?
Oh,
what now?
Patrick Vieira is one of them.
So we're 1 for 1.
Yeah. So who else did we say? Joey Barton is 8th on this list. He had 6. Catamol is 4th. He had 7. The other 2 players are Vieira is one of them. Duncan Ferguson is the other, and Richard Dunn is the third one.
So we got one of the 3.
Yeah. Vinny Jones.
We did have 4th and 7th.
Yeah, Vinny Jones is 7. Roy Keane is 7. Alan Smith is 7.
Oh, smudge.
Catamol was 7 as well, and then on 6 you've got loads, and Luis Bermorte, 6 red cards.
He got more red cards than goals. Okay, well, one's not too
Vidic
bad.
would have been a good shout as well. I might say if I could have remembered Vidic, but yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure Pete will be back next week with another team. I think that's it for this week, Chris.
Yeah, so just one thing. Obviously, this weekend we revealed something new that we're going to be doing. So View from the Sideline Gaming is on official. The first video we will tweet out when that is coming, but it's likely to be in about a week and a half time. But yeah, go over. There's a I'll link the Twitter in the YouTube description, and I'll tweet it out as well. So yeah, go there. We'll do it, dabbling in some gaming.
We're expanding. The empire. So only 2 more episodes of the podcast this season. So we've got the summary following the last games of the season this coming weekend, and then we're going to do a special the week after, which will basically be our review of the season once it's all done and dusted.
We're going to grade Rich on how he's done this season.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be going through our top moments, like Lloris getting the best keeper in the league. Goal. Liverpool, 4-0.
Liverpool, 4-0 up. Origi has scored.
Oh, my days. This is madness.
Life is over.
Well, no, Barca only need one. Barca one, get one, and that's it. So we will go quickly, but just so our subscriptions went up slightly week on week. So people listening, please, if you like what you hear, subscribe. Because we really want to push the subscriptions up. It would mean a lot to us if you could just hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Definitely. So thank you very much. Speak to you next week.
Thank you for listening. See you next week. Bye.